All right, we are live. Thanks everybody for coming in. It's been too long since we did this, and thank you, Paul, for coming in today. And
Yeah,
how you been? What's new with you?
Oh man, I'm pretty good, pretty good. Well, I'm new in that I'm a year older, right?
What? When did this happen?
Man, every day it happens that way, but yeah, January. So we're here a year older, and looking at 2022. Man, I mean, I'm curious as to how it was for a lot of other people, in regards to, of course, business and personal. But now we're here at 2023, and things just continue to change. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm just excited, hopeful for the new year. I think we're going to see some definitely some progress, even if it looks like we're going in a negative direction. Sometimes you got to go that way in order to move forward. But yeah, so. I don't know if I answered your question, but
Well, I'm about to join you here in the 1 year older club next month. So.
Oh yeah, February.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Nice. Nice.
So, as you said, 2023, new year, same
Yes.
old things. New year, new problems, right? And also new opportunities.
Absolutely.
Let's not get too. I know things are tough. Trust me, I get it. Every day I live this, but let's not get too hung up on the bad things,
Right.
because there's going to be opportunity. There's opportunity now. There's opportunity tomorrow. They might not be, what they were last year.
Yeah.
But that's what sharpens you as a better business person, also.
Yeah. 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 I mean, as a business person, individually, or what have you. I mean, there was something I saw and I can't remember. It was saying, there's the gloom and doom. I got a friend that says every time I talk to him, I'm bringing the gloom. And then there is also, there's good stuff as well. I mean, right now the economy is crazy. It's where you notice certain things and it seems like it's all bad, right? But then you look at other things like the job market, and it says that things are pretty good. So it's kind of weird right now, but yet at the same time, there's opportunity, that exists. That there really is. So
Yeah, and one, I don't know, somewhat of an opportunity right now that I'm seeing is it's RFP season. People are starting to send out bids for the upcoming year for freight. So I think the strategy right now is, if you're talking to people, even brokers, I'm getting RFP proposal. RFP is request for proposal. I'm getting RFP proposals from brokers. Every broker you talk to say, hey, you guys sending out any RFPs right now? Because a lot of people don't know, brokers contract lanes too. So they may get the freight, and then they put out a proposal. Hey, we got all these lanes. What can you take regular? And then once it's covered, you will never see that freight hit the load board. So the key is get in early, bid everything. Just because you bid it does not mean you have to take it if you win it, but get it out there. That's what I've done. A few hundred bids here this week. Bid. Obviously, I cannot take it all.
It's the season.
And then too, by bidding it, they, and this stuff I bid was for a shipper, not necessarily a broker, but then they know you're a serious participant.
You said a shipper?
Yeah. Well, I guess technically they're a 3PL.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
They have a bunch of their own warehouses, and then they also handle. They'll go into a place and they'll say, we'll handle all your freight, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you say that and you're talking about bid season, you're darn right. I mean, this year is, you think about it. I mean, there were so many things that went through my head with what you just said. Bid season. I go back pre-COVID, right? Thinking pre-COVID, and where we're at now, I think there are some pre-COVID things that are happening right now today. Obviously, masks is not a big deal as it was before, and some other things as well. But the bid season, even going through COVID, it didn't take that away, did it? It's still something that exists. So there's opportunity that does exist. But then even with that, we had time that passed, right? 2-3 years have passed since, what is it, 2019,
20-ish,
2020.
yeah.
Right. And with that, there was opportunity to still develop relationships, because what you said was, when you are putting in a bid, whether you win or lose, or don't get the opportunity or get the freight, they are still going to be shipping, probably, and all the way through to next year. Is there a way maybe that you can develop some type of relationship with them? And I know you said brokers, but even shippers, develop some type of relationship with them where you stay in contact with them throughout the year until next year comes around, and who knows, maybe you have a better opportunity because of a relationship that you started to develop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, here we are at bid season. You're absolutely right. Take advantage of that, but also take advantage of having those, developing those connections, right? And just foster that, nurture that. I was talking to a shipper earlier, and he used the word nurture, and I think that's a good word. Try to develop that relationship and nurture it throughout the year for next year, because next year will eventually come around. You know what I mean? So maybe you'll be in a better position.
Yeah, and it's more important than ever to take part in these things, because obviously you can't win if you don't play, right? And then
Right.
there's this thing of, okay, if you get on these bid lists, then you're on them.
Yeah.
You're gonna get the opportunity again next year and the year after that.
Right.
If you don't, if they send it to you, you never participate and send it back, you're not going to be on our distribution list, right?
Right.
And you
Right.
have to ask for these things. These things are probably not just going to come at you at random.
Right.
If you don't ask, you're out. And
Yes.
being that the spot market is slow,
Mhm.
once again, it's more important to do these things, because once that freight is bid, it will never hit the spot market. It won't hit the
Mhm.
load board like it did the last few years.
Mhm.
So
Right.
it's important. It's
Yeah.
important.
How did you get on some of these lists? Not necessarily getting the load list, but just them sending out the opportunity to participate.
Most of them are just kind of by happenstance. One thing leads you to another, leads you to another, to another person, to another person, and uh, I'm not afraid. Like, if I get these random emails, right, of
Hmm.
load offers, and say, hey, because what they do is they go into FMCSA, and there's some services that will, if you're a broker, you can go to and say, okay, tell me all the carriers in this area, right? Because I got freight out of this area I'm going to cover.
Hmm.
So it'll pull all that information in, and then they send out load offers to those carriers. That's how it happens if you're getting offers from places you've never heard of. So I'll answer them, and then just keep kind of going back and forth. Hey, is this regular? Is this? Is it that? And then it just kind of keeps going up the food chain sometimes, and leading to other places. That's the best answer I can give you. And then some of them is just from calling and asking, I guess.
Hmm.
And so I guess you've made some calls also.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
None of them have ever just. Well, I guess one of them here recently did kind of just fall in my email. I don't
Yeah.
know how I got it, but I got it. So yeah, that's kind of how.
Yeah.
And when we book a load, let's pick a 3PL right here. Say Rouen, right?
Hmm.
They're 3PL.
Yep.
If I book a load through them, I don't just kind of leave it at that. I ask a lot of questions, and they say, "Yeah, we do this and we do that." And I say, "Well, how do I get to be a part of that? How can I find out more of that? How can I get in? Okay, when's your bid season, and how can I get
Hmm.
in on that?"
Right.
So that's kind of how I do it. Is just by not being a pain in the butt, just following up, being
Yeah.
persistent.
Yeah. And that's something that happens, like, throughout the year, right? It's not necessarily or a focused time period. Like, you don't do it just January and go through that process, do you? Like,
No, well, most of them happen in the early part of the year, like first
okay.
quarter.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
I've seen a good bit of them in the second quarter, and
Right.
then
I mean, for
they'll be
you, in
scattered
terms
through.
of how you, like, as an example, oh, well, let me ask you this then. Throughout the year, is there where you happen to come about I don't know, a shipper or a broker, and you try to go the next level with them? You know what I mean? Try to go to a point where you're finding out more about them, and who knows, eventually maybe that ends up in a situation where you do talk about the bid season. Because one of the things we do is that, or we've done, is we called it Christmas in July, right? And what we would do is in July, we would reach out and communicate with shippers. And even if we didn't get freight right there and then, or they didn't have anything for us or what have you, we would talk to them about the end of the year, right? And we would be able to follow them up. But then even in talking to them about that, it may come out that, hey, this is how we operate at the start of the year after the holiday season, then that's when we start looking at our situation. And, we send out the packets, and, maybe then you can put in a bid, and it's like, okay, great. You know what I mean? So even focusing in or thinking about it throughout the year and having those conversations with them, those opportunities can come up. They may say, hey, we only do it once a year, and more than likely it's during the bid season. You know what I'm saying? So you're building that Rolodex, and next thing you know, you got these opportunities coming in that you kind of prospected throughout the year.
Yeah, and I've won or secured very little freight by doing these RFPs. But
Right.
here's what has happened, and what does happen, and what is really kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
Is throughout the year, people will fall off these lanes that they won or bid,
absolutely.
or find out, they promised 10 trucks a week and they only have 6.
Yep.
So when that happens, they'll go through their list of who else bid on that lane and put the offer out to them, rather than, posting it to the public, to
Right.
kind of keep things in
Right.
house. I have that happen a lot.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's worked out really well. So that's actually kind of what I'm hoping for, because for a small carrier to service a lane dedicated, regular, on the spot every week, when you only have a couple trucks, is difficult. But what
Right.
I can do is, I also know that other people have a hard time doing that. So if somebody falls off, a lot of times I'm, like, okay, well, we'll give you first backup, choice on this load. So if somebody does fail,
Right.
we'll call you. And then if you can't do it, we move on to the next person. So
Right.
I kind of really like it that way,
Yeah.
because it gives me an out to say no.
Right.
If I don't have a truck,
Yeah.
and I don't have to sit there stressing, can I cover it?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's helpful.
And that's just, one way, of going about it. And, we're talking about obviously securing freight, looking for, consistent opportunity and things like that. But, there's different ways, but yeah, that's good. And like we said, so many things have changed and continue to change. And there's so many things that make a difference, and so many things that you can,
You muted yourself there, Paul. Let's see if I can unmute you. Oh, your mic came disconnected. There you go.
Did I unmute myself? I had no idea how that happened.
Said your mic came disconnected a little bit.
Okay, sorry about that. But what I was saying is that, and there's so many things that over the past 2-3 years, we've just experienced that we've experienced probably before, but not in the way that we have experienced it, over the last 3 years. We're here in the new year, and but over the past 2-3 years, there's just been so many things that we've got to experience, different, just different things. And hopefully, a lot of people were able to gain an education out of it, and learn from it, and then be able to move forward with it, and knowing things will continue to change, right? But just be better than we were a year ago, 2-3 years ago. So, I'm excited.
It's just thanks, guys. There's a couple super chats here. Fate Truckin' says, "Go Bengals!" Right, Paul? Still waiting on those cookies.
Whoa! Wait, back up. Say you.
He says, "Go Bengals." What does that mean?
He's talking about the football game today.
Oh, I thought he was only an ice hockey fan. But are the Bengals playing your beloved Chiefs?
They are playing my beloved Chiefs, and it, the Bengals have done a very, very, very good job of beating them. on a consistent basis. I think they beat us 3 out of the last 3 matches, and they beat us last year in the AFC Championship, and now today is the AFC Championship. And honestly, if I were to walk to the game today, it would take me about 30 minutes to get there. I mean, it's just right down the street, honestly. So as far as what was the second part of his statement?
He's a big fan of your cookies.
Cookies, okay.
Yeah. But no, he's not getting any. You can just send them to me, and I'll pass along a picture of them to him.
Right.
Adam Bennett says $20 super chat. Appreciate it. He says cancel Fate Trucking. Okay, we'll cancel the cookie request. How about that? It just dawned on me I never properly introduced you. There's probably a lot of new people watching or going to watch here today. So everybody, Paul has a service called Freight Connect, FR8Connect.com. And what Paul does is he helps people like us, single truck freight haulers, owner operators, you call us carriers. Helps people, train them in sales, things like that, and can help you, do outside sales, make these connections for you, different levels of, what you want them to do, how far you want them to go with it. And he helps us connect with direct shipper or receiver, whoever's footing the bill, opportunities, so that we can try to stay out of this crazy spot market. We've been doing it. Paul's been a big part of the show here for the last almost 3. Has it been 3 years, or are we on 2 years?
It was definitely before COVID.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and randomly say 3 years, and with the risk might be wrong. And it's helped a lot of people and brought a lot of good information and insight and value to this audience. So if you're out there right now and you're running just spot market and you're struggling, we know that. But also, we talked about that was going to happen. So if you need a little help, don't be afraid to give Paul a call. I'm going to put the number on the screen here. Let me find that. It's here we go. 866-342-0040, extension 109, or paul.k at fr8connect.com, right?
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
That is it.
I'll have the website scroll here on the bottom of the screen.
Very good. Okay.
And, talk it out, see if there's anything for you there. Maybe some direct shipper opportunities might be right for you. And I think they're right for most everybody. And I'm hoping people are ready for it now. There's a lot of resistance over the last couple of years because the spot market was just too much. It was too hot. It was too on fire.
Yeah.
But hey, we have to change the way we do things now, right? Mm-hmm. Last couple of years, we could pretty much do whatever we want, make a lot of money. Now it's time to sharpen your business skills, hone your skills. And you know what? Myself included, sometimes it's smart to realize when you need help or employ the services of somebody who is, been around longer than you, has more connections than you, I'll even say wiser than you and me. That's part of wisdom, is knowing when somebody else is smarter than you. And it's key to success too. Very wealthy people don't do all their own day-to-day stuff. They hire really smart, brilliant, hardworking people to do it for them. And that's what makes them more successful.
Yeah.
So give Paul a call. We haven't seen Freight Connect newsletter here in a couple months. I'm assuming you've been a little too busy.
Yeah, you are 100% right about that. I mean, you and I getting together today, I think it definitely is going to prompt me to put something together. Been over the past few months, man, maybe more than that, really been digging in regards to the economy. It's always been, a part of what we do, what we talk about, and things like that. But I mean, the world is, I think one of the things that COVID has taught us is that the world is so interconnected, you know what I mean? And then, you start hearing about countries doing, their own thing now, instead of, whether it's the semiconductor chips, right, and trying to produce them on their own, and just trying to do everything on their own now. But the world is always going to be connected, and it's not that large. It's pretty small, with the internet and all that. It's not that big. So as far as that goes, there's a lot of things that we've been looking at on the economic side of things globally, domestically. So have just been spending a lot of time looking at that, because the thing is that if you're out there out and about and you're trying to figure out why there's not a lot of freight out there, there's answers to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And knowing the answers, or where to go to find the answers, that definitely can help you, in terms of decisions you make. But then at the same time, when you're communicating with opportunities, whether it's brokers or whether it's shippers or whomever, you have a different perspective on things, right? And a perspective not just to support you in what you're trying to accomplish, but also to help those that you're communicating with. So a shipper may see you completely in a completely different way, simply because you have a different perspective on things. And so those are the things that we've really been looking at and putting together a lot of information, and just really focused in on the economy. So, but I plan to put out a newsletter here soon, and probably will get working on it, after the Chiefs game. So,
Okay. People can sign up for that newsletter on your website, right?
yeah,
Send an email.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
The newsletter is of no charge, right?
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go to the website and then just sign up as a carrier. You can even sign up as a shipper, and then we'll probably reach out just to check in and see what it is you're trying to accomplish and things like that. But what will happen is that you'll be on the list to get that newsletter.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody in here knows it's a little slow right now. Maybe more than a little slow. The rates are down.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough market right now for small trucking companies. Big ones too. Can a one truck guy, two truck guy, small guy, in a big pond, little fish, big pond. Is there still opportunities out there for them to get direct freight type opportunities?
Yes. It's definitely not going to be like last year, right? Or like 2021, right?
Hmm.
We all know that. At that point in time, I mean, it was just supply and demand thing, right? And then as we hit, what was that?
As it is now, it's
Right,
just not in our favor.
right. There you go. Because I think you and I talked about it back in was it February, March, when things kind of flipped, right? Last
Hmm.
year, and then at that point in time, it became a shippers market. And so again, it still was supply and demand. There was more trucks out there than was needed.
Right.
And so with that, then all of a sudden, it becomes harder to find freight. You find rates go down, right? Also, there was fuel prices went up. So it was that storm you didn't want to be in. But today, in regards to answering your question, the thing is that freight is still moving, right? Whether it's not as much freight, but the key thing, as we always talk about, is working to develop those relationships. I mean, I say it over and over again, because eventually, a year is going to pass, and during that time period, there's going to be a need, that they will have.
Right.
And they may need to reach out to someone, and whether you've got one or two trucks, you can be in position for that. And, it just takes one shipper, right? Or one opportunity that can change the trajectory of, of your company. And so it's always trying to be in position. And it doesn't mean that you always have to be out there trying to let everyone know, hey, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. But what it means is that anytime that you are communicating with someone, right, you got to have that mindset that, that you can, you want to be available to them. You want to be able to find out about them, understand them, have those good conversations with them. Because when you hang up the phone, the question is, do they remember you? You know what I mean? Did you leave an impression? And it's about, what are you bringing to the table? So if you have just one truck, right, but when you get off the phone and they remember you, that can make a big difference. So,
No, you're right. In regards to that, you know, it is about what you bring to the table. So for the last couple years, it's about what they could bring to the table. What did they have to bring to the table? They had to bring money because that's what it took to get the job done.
right.
Now the market is flipped. So you have to bring something to the table. And what are you bringing to the table that's different than everybody else? Like you said, they have to remember you. So if you come to them and you just have one truck and you're just like everybody else, okay, why are they going to remember you? It's going to take something special. What's your value proposition,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to be smarter than everybody else. You're going to have to be more articulate, slightly more aggressive. Um, you're going to have to know things that they would not probably expect you to know operating on your level with just one truck. And you're going to have top-notch communication skills.
Mm,
You're going to have to, because somebody else will.
yeah.
And that's the person they're going to do business with.
Hmm.
And you're going to have a firm grasp of reality and rates, dedication, what it's going to take to service them on that freight if you do get it.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
You don't have to be um, you know exact numbers with each other when you come to meet, but you got to be on the same planet in the same ballpark, you know
Right.
so that the negotiations, when it does come to that, is just a matter of details, and you're not so far off that somebody's going to get their feelings hurt.
Mm-hmm.
um, so you got to be armed with a ton of information and skills.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
if you
Go ahead.
don't, if you're not and you don't, you're going to have to hire somebody to do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I mean, with say you hire someone to do it for you, that individual. I mean, there's so many ways that one can look at it, and can I say that one is right and the other is wrong? I think there's so many different ways that you can develop your business, grow your business, and what have you. For us, we believe that if you're able to educate yourself, right, you can make better decisions. You can make the decisions that are going to help you achieve your goals, right? You're being proactive, right?
Hmm.
You're not allowing just the situation to take control. And as an example, let's say someone sees it slow out there, and then they're saying, "Hey, I'm just trying to make it through the end of the year and looking for rates to change." You know what I mean? There are things that you can do during that time period, right, that could make a difference and actually get you to that next level that you're trying to go to, right? And so it's about being able to be proactive in the situations that you're in. So whether you have someone that is doing it for you, you want them definitely to be that type of person or what have you. But yet, at the same time, for yourself, you can be proactive as well. And we would love to be able to talk about that and show you how to do it and all that good stuff. But and there's a lot of trucks out there. I mean, when you get to a point where there's so many trucks out there, right? It's a shipper can be like, I don't care. You just give me the rate that I want and move it, right? And that happens a lot. But at the same time, I guarantee you, if that's the case, then the next person that comes along that's going to have a lower rate, right, is going to be the one. It's going to be that guy or that gal, right?
Right.
But if you're able to come to the table with something more, right, and you got to figure out what that is. But if you're able to come to the table with something more, that can make a difference. Maybe not for that shipper, but for someone, it can make a difference.
Absolutely. I want to squeeze in some comments here. I feel like I'm not answering people. Sorry,
Yeah.
we're trying to get trying to get inside Paul's head and root out all that good information for us here. Uh, WCF Invader says, "Go Chiefs! Pros and cons of getting direct customers with and without a brokerage. Also, DIY, would you mind running my carrier on carrier 411? Yeah, just email me, Don. You got my number, or email me or text me. You got my number, and I wouldn't mind. I don't want. I want that would be a in private type thing. We can do that. Um,
Mhm.
Pros and cons of getting direct customers with and without a brokerage. Okay,
Mhm.
you want to start, Paul?
I can. So pros and
Well,
cons with.
can I tie that to another question that
Go
he
ahead.
asked
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
earlier on? He had the first question here. It says, "I'm 50." Okay, if you're taking questions, then would you recommend getting a brokerage to try to get direct customers? I'm a carrier currently, and I know Don's a one truck guy. You'd be kind of in a similar situation as when you and I first met. So,
Right. Right.
Paul, you go ahead and start with that one.
Okay. So, I mean, well, I'll say it like this. I mean, let me answer that second question in regards to the brokerage. And, you and I have talked about it a lot, right? In regards to having a brokerage, I mean, I believe that as a carrier, right, to get a brokerage, just to get a brokerage, again, being proactive, understand why you're doing it, right? One of the things that we look at, or the reasons why we would say to get that brokerage, is that you can come encounter with a shipper and they have freight, and you might not be able to move all that freight, right? And you then have your brokerage that you can use to move that extra freight. So that can be a huge benefit, and ultimately that can evolve into a situation where they're giving you more freight, and who knows, maybe at some point you're able to get a truck and start moving more of that with your carrier side. But I think some people may think about getting a brokerage and just think that because they have a brokerage, right, the freight is just going to come, right? But there can be a strategic part of that where, once again, if you do have it and you have a client, maybe you can't move all the freight, even through the brokerage, but you still have an opportunity to do that. Did you want to add to that, Adam? Or
Yeah, I just want. I pretty much agree with you 100%. Having a brokerage can be that value proposition that we talked about.
yeah,
It might be the one thing that you have that these others don't. Okay, so that's always a good thing. It's a value added service, another service you can add for them. Um, Number two, it's inexpensive to do that. So you could, depending on your credit, for right around $1,000 plus, your authority, probably $1,500, you could get a brokerage. Have it, have it active, and let it sit there and age. If you don't think you're ready to do it, still get it and just let it sit, because time and age matter with a brokerage when it comes to credit. Okay, credit. That's one part of it. The brokerage saying that doesn't get talked about enough is credit. Not only having credit with carriers, but also
mhm,
being able to take on a customer and get them credit approved. Okay,
mhm,
that's a tough row to hoe sometimes. So
mhm.
time is important. Um, yes, I think you should do it. I think if you waste $1,500 on it, you probably wasted $1,500 on dumber things in your life, and it's going to be a good learning experience. There is so many people out there talking crap about brokers. Some of it very justified. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
A lot of it justified right now because there's some dirty things going on. But learn it. Learn
yeah,
the industry. Learn that side of it. Or on just everything in a blanket statement. And
yeah,
it's valuable to you as a carrier too, to learn this information. You're gonna just learn. You're gonna learn so much more about the industry, and you can take these. You're gonna learn about bidding freight, about engaging customers and sales. You take these things back over to your carrier side. It's only gonna make your carrier better. Like I'm of the opinion of, why would you not? It's a cheap education, and you're gonna
yeah,
get an education,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and you're
and
gonna
you're
learn how
talking from
things.
experience.
Yeah, and that's from experience. Me having a brokerage, uh, have I done a ton? No, but I've learned a lot, and I've applied it all to my carrier, and it's made it so much better. I only have one customer that I have three customers that let me broker out their freight. Two of them really don't have any freight to speak of right now, so it's been slow. The third one, it has worked out so very well, um, and they're very happy, and I'm very happy. And hey, do it if
And
you're thinking about
it
it.
took time. I mean, right? I mean, it wasn't like just overnight, you kind of
No,
figure things out, but
it can take years, but
it can
it's
take, yeah, it takes
worth
time.
it.
It's like I mean, like you said, in education, I mean, when you think about it, whether it's elementary school, junior high, high school, college, or whatever the case is, there's time involved. But regardless, you have to put that in order to advance, right?
Yeah,
Advance, even in your trucking company. I mean, you get it, you get to your authority, and you gotta wait, what is it, 6 months before a broker's feel
some.
confident.
Yeah,
Right. And then at the same time, with your authority as a broker, right? Once you do get it, there's time that's going to pass, that's going to need to pass in order for you to, for that 6 months to pass. So time is always, it can be, it is a benefit to you. Time is on your side if you understand it, right?
right. And
But you
so
can
it may,
waste time too.
yeah,
Go ahead.
it may take 5 years to make a difference, but if you don't do it and 5 years passes, you can't go back and change it. You're going to wait another 5 years.
True.
It's a matter of being ready when the opportunity strikes and giving yourself all the tools to do it. You're just
Yeah.
giving yourself another tool
Yeah.
because you don't know next year what things look like. What if freight takes off and is booming again, and you already got a
Wrangle
brokerage with
around
2 years
track.
under your belt,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Otherwise, you're still standing there stuck in the mud, thinking, "I wish I would have, or I should have done it different."
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on it. And then the downsides of it. So it's what do you say? The pros and cons. The
Mhm.
cons, um, it's really
Takes
not that
time.
expensive, so I can't say that it's a lot of money. Um, Once you go active with it, you're going to want to pick up some insurance, some other things. So it's going to get a little more expensive, and the load boards are a lot more expensive on the broker side. So you're gonna start having some significant operating expenses. It's not what people, oh, it's a laptop and a load board. Yeah, well, guess what? That's expensive. Uh, it's going to be, if you're operational as a brokerage, very stressful, very chaotic. It's a lot of work.
Mhm.
You're going to be told no a lot, but get the failures out of your way. Start now. Get your failures behind you, so that by the time somebody is ready to do business with you, you're ready, right? You've faced some of those challenges.
Yeah. And
Uh,
go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to add to it is that, like you were saying, you're gonna have a lot of no's and what have you. I mean, I would say, like, with the con, um, it does take time, right? And and I only say that it's a con in the sense that a lot of people have an expectation of right now, right? But the time, it's okay that it takes time. And then also where you're going to hear a lot of no's. Well, the thing is, depending upon how you uh, decide to strategize your brokerage, if you decide that, hey, I'm going to go into this and I'm going to look for freight, and I'm going to work to get it covered, and jump into it, okay, that's fine. You can do that, and that's good. Start develop that Rolodex of carriers and shippers and what have you. But then again, if you do have the carrier side and you have the brokerage, again, as you are moving freight, and then you happen to come across shippers and they have freight that you cannot haul, with on the direct side, well, then you can utilize your brokerage, right? So that these opportunities can come around, because of your asset side, because
Hmm.
of the asset side. So the asset side can generate opportunities for you.
Yes, the asset side in today's market, right? Freight market.
Yeah.
If you're going out as a one man show, small brokerage, you're trying to start a brokerage, um, but you have no trucks, no assets,
Right.
unless you have massive resources.
Right.
Like you're going to start something new or different with a big platform that
Yeah.
some of the big boys aren't doing. I'm sad to say, like you have little to no chance because it is brutal out there right now. on the broker
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
These will come in and cut your legs out from under you the same day.
Yeah.
So it's tough. And some of the cons on the broker side end up being pros kind of in the long run, because some of the things some people are going to do some dirty, nasty things to you and put you in bad situations. They're going to fall off a load at the last minute and put you in a bad place with your customer. Customers are going to put you in a situation where you have to take a rate that you can't cover it for. But they all end up being pros in a long time because they're all learning opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sucks while you're going through it.
Yeah.
But you're going to learn from it.
Yeah.
And be wiser for it. So it's I don't know. If you're serious about the business, I recommend you do it. You can only learn,
Yeah.
And right now it's about being sharper than the next guy, because he has a truck too, right? And you have a truck, and you can do essentially the same thing.
Yep.
What do you got over him? You need to have something over him, and knowledge is a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are you doing what are you doing? Your why, and set your game plan and go after it. But yeah, so I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Let me just see here if in my questions here. Thanks everybody for coming in. I won't welcome every single person in, but appreciate it. And the same gentleman says, my wanting it for the option of giving out overflow for direct customers in case I cannot keep up with their demands or if my truck goes down. Yeah, that's a good purpose.
Yeah.
Not actually wanting to run a brokerage for profit like I would the carrier, mostly just to assist the carrier. That's kind of what I'm doing, but you're going to find yourself wanting to help your customer, right? Because it helps you, right? It gets so interconnected there that I guess the line kind of gets blurred a little bit sometimes of, are you doing it for them or for you? But it doesn't matter who you're doing it for. You need to make a profit. By me helping them cover freight, it brings more opportunities for my carrier, because now there's certain lanes where I get first phone call or first email.
Right.
That helps both.
Yeah.
Them and us, right? So
building a relationship.
It really is a partnership.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. Cents per mile, you only fail if you accept failure as an option. It's usually a learning opportunity, isn't it? Vic Med says California is just crazy right now for those 3PL bids. Well, good. Hit them all. Bid them all. You can't get them all, but you can try. Sal with Right Lane Logistics, wishing you a blessed Sunday. Why is it that we as Americans complain, adjust, and forget fuel going up again? Okay. All right. Different topic, I guess. Thanks again, Fate Trucking. Yeah, he's a Bengals fan. I don't know. That's not good.
He's okay. All right.
Yeah. Vic says, I get these emails randomly. I believe they got our information from posting our capacity from DAT, load board 1 to 3, and load board. That can be. But I've not been able to pull that information off the broker side from those load boards. But I do get offered these services all the time. The Carrier Watch, I think, is one of them. Where they compile that information. So it's they don't give that for free. They make you pay for that information. So
right.
Trey Lincoln says, what do you think about e-carrier check? I've just recently come across that e-carrier check. I haven't looked into it a lot. I've got some emails on it, so I did kind of click on it and go over the basics. I'm all for more information. Some of our monitoring systems are broken. Carrier 411, I find to be heavily biased. Like, if you look at Carrier 411, you would think there is not a trucking company out there that you can hire, but you really got to sort through it. And if there's a better way to do it, then also freight checkers. Don't everybody forget about freight checkers. We had Alexander Winton and Associates on. Sign up for it, use it, and rate the companies. Let's get it out there.
Yeah.
Gary Bates says, I get the emails, but they only seem to be dry van. Okay. Well, that's possibly because that's what you are flagged in the industry is doing. So that can change.
Right.
hit the thumbs up. Yes, please do that. Any direct turkey shippers? Possibly. They're out there everywhere.
Hmm.
Scott, thanks you for bringing a lot of good information. Well, thank you for watching. Can you help with intrastate authority or intrastate freight? There are decent opportunities out there to do intrastate, Paul, where you never leave the state.
Yeah, I mean there definitely is. I mean, and obviously more some states more so than others, right? Um, I mean, an easy state to think of, right, is Texas. It's so big,
Yeah,
you know.
California.
But, yeah, California. So yeah, definitely. So it just depends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep. Paul G says it's the time of year too. Quarter 1 always slow. Yeah, and we got to keep that in mind too. This is the slow time of year. Absolutely. AB says the answer is greed. Okay, greed. Maybe I'm missing something here. Dan's Outdoor Adventure says 5 months and running non-CDL hotshot, and I've noticed some brokers don't post the load details, dimension, weight, or even rate just from the TO. Well, from and to. Why is that? Because a lot of them use auto posting, which is so if I go into my TMS, which is Ascend, and I can look at my loads, right? And then I can go through and click post, and it will automatically post the load to whatever load boards I've selected. And then when you build the load in the computer, you usually use a template. Like when I first set up things, I built a template here with what comments I need in there and what I needed to say and look. And they just, when they build the load in there, they build it using a template, and then it's set up in the system. So there's only generic information in there. And if they wanted that, the load details, they have to go in there and do it manually. And obviously that, takes time, right? I still believe it should be in there, but in these bigger brokerages, if you figure they're posting hundreds of loads a day, it's easier for them to just use the auto post feature rather than build each load individual in there and then post it to the different load sources, because also they're posting it to probably 10 different sources for load boards,
Right.
and to go in there and build it manually in each one would be really time consuming. So that's usually why.
Okay.
I put all my stuff in manually, so when I do post a load, which is very rarely, I put everything in there, because why would I want to sit in there and take 100 phone calls of somebody that can't haul my freight in the first place?
Absolutely.
If I
Right.
put the weight in there and the times and they realize they can't do it, then we won't waste a bunch of time.
Right.
AB says having direct connection to the companies that want quality and safety is the key, and having many years of experience will be key for the temporary. After that, it's big corporations that will survive. There's always going to be some of that, and there's always going to be people on the other side that care a great deal about service, and things like that. So
yeah, there's gonna you're and like you say, it just varies, from company to company. So so from there, that's where you want to have the skills, to be able to get in there and be able to have those type of conversations and figure it out.
Yeah. So here's a great perspective, and we've worked on this a great deal over the last couple of years. Jerry says, "What are your thoughts on not wanting to have to rely on a direct customer?" You go ahead and go first, Paul.
Yeah. So not rely on a direct customer. I guess my question is, when you say, like not, if you don't want to rely, what does that mean? That means you want to do broker freight?
Yeah.
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 Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if from what I'm gathering from the question, I mean, if you, everything is not the right fit. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if you're wanting to do wanting to do broker freight, by all means. I mean, there's some people out there, they love to just see the country, right, and travel all over the place. So at that point, it is a matter of utilizing the load boards in regards to you know, what your objective is. Is it just to be able to go all over the place, or is it that you're just trying to find the best rate? You know what I mean? And you're willing to spend that time to do it. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I have nothing against brokers. I started as a broker in this industry. I see that I know that there is a reason, a point, a purpose for brokers. And so, yeah, I mean, it depends on what you want to do, what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. Um, it's been the battle for the last couple of years, right? Of why would I, try to get direct customers when there's more money in the spot market. And process of trying to explain that that's not normal. Most people get that. Most people got it.
Yeah,
But there's some people that won't be convinced against their own will,
yeah,
and it's not our job to convince anybody. However, then you enter into times like this
yeah.
when there's not much volume,
Mhm,
in the spot market right now.
mhm,
Rates are down.
mhm,
Um, and it could get worse. There was times in the beginning of 2020, and I live in a good freight market, when I would pull up the load board and search within 150 miles of my domicile, and there was 6 loads available,
mhm.
and not one of them paid $1 a mile.
Yeah,
You're going to go through times like that.
yeah.
So don't pigeonhole yourself into one thing. If you get direct customers, you can still go out and haul load board freight. You don't have to
Absolutely.
pull. You don't have to pull all your loads from a direct customer. There's no way. I don't. I certainly don't.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a good supplement, and it's a good thing to build towards the future. But guess what? We're in this terrible freight market, and we're still doing pretty good for the time being.
Mm.
That can change. I'm
Yeah.
not dumb enough to think that that couldn't change tomorrow. It will give you added resilience in your business. It will kind of level out the highs and lows a little bit.
Mm.
Now, did we get a little bit less during, the gold rush there? Yeah, probably. We probably could have done a little bit better. I'll take this every day of the week, because I know people that are desperately struggling right now and about to lose everything.
Mm.
I will take this way every day, given the option.
Mm.
Now, that's not for everybody. I'm not trying to tell
Right.
you should be like that or think that, but don't, try it. You can always go back. Um, it might not work for you. You might find out you really like it. Um, 100% spot market. Some people say I'll live and die by spot market. There'll always be better money in the spot market. How's that working? Right?
Right.
How did it work before 2019, 2018?
Mm-hmm.
It was a rough go. It's not really what it was built for. So be open-minded. I would encourage you to just be open-minded, be versatile. It's a better way to be anyway, especially if you're in business.
Yeah.
But if you don't, there's no, nobody going to make you or tell you have to, or just want to. What we're trying to do is let you know it's possible.
Well, and with that too, with the market as a whole, about what 10-15% is spot market. Is the spot, and then the rest, you're looking at contracted freight. So there is this portion, that you're competing, so to speak, in terms of getting that freight, and then there's all this other freight that exists as well, right? So yeah, so I would not recommend pigeonholing yourself, in that way, because there's these other opportunities. But once again, depending upon what you want, if that caters to what you're wanting to do, by all means, go after that. But there is this whole other opportunity that does exist. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Sage Outcast Production says, "Hey, now, did you change your channel name again? Holy cow!" People saying it's good to see you, Paul. Thank you.
Hey,
Yep.
it's good to see. What was that? Sage out. What was it called?
Outcast Productions.
Outcast Productions. Cool.
There you go.
Hey.
Um,
Sage.
Brian Harrow says, is there a website where carriers can go and see what the brokers are saying about them? A rating. Carrier 411 does not allow trucking companies to join. Right. Carrier 411 does not allow that. Looking at this e-carrier check, that may be possible. Trying to build freight checkers into something like that. It will function that way if people start using it. Go to freightcheckers.com, sign up. They have a free version. DAT, the reviews on DAT, you can see anytime somebody leaves you a review on DAT, you can see it. If you have do a good load with a broker and they're like at the end, hey, thanks, you did a good job. Say, hey, would you mind leaving me a review on DAT?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask for a review.
Absolutely.
Done it a couple times, and some good reviews can really outweigh the bad ones, because people never, like, look at Google, right?
Yeah.
All the Google reviews are mostly negative.
Right.
Very few people take the time to comment when something good happened.
To put the good
So
stuff in.
see some good reviews. Oh, somebody bothered to take the time to go out of their way to leave a good review about this guy.
Yeah.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, and do it for other people. They're likely, they'll see that you did it. If you do it on DAT, they're going to get a notice that you did it, and they're likely to give you a good review back. So
that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I think what's the name of the company that you had on?
The one service they offer is Freight Checkers.
Freight Checkers.
Yeah, and then there's service there where they do collections for people and help with brokers or receivers or shippers that didn't pay. Is it's AWA, Alexander Winton and Associates.
Okay.
They do a really good job.
Okay. Yeah, but
I know you're probably not tangled up in this side of the business, Paul, but there is just massive fraud going on right now. Everything in trucking. So the broker boards are full of scammer brokers.
Yeah.
People are stealing the identities of large, well-known brokers. Like Landstar had their identity stolen. Watco, I know of a few others. And then they'll steal the identity of carriers. There's skimmers all over, fuel pumps, skimming people's fuel cards and running up fuel bills. It's just nonstop.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of need for that, collections type thing.
Yeah.
It's tragic. You really got to protect yourself at all times. And you can see a lot of the obvious scammers on the broker boards. The volume's low, and now you got all these brokers you have never heard of before posting loads on there. They're obviously double brokering, triple brokering, whatever, posting loads that don't even exist.
Yeah.
So, and then carriers are doing the same. So it's hard to decipher, and even more of a reason to try to not book a lot of freight off the load board, because the time right now is difficult.
Yeah.
You're already in a tough spot and you get scammed for $5,000-$10,000, that could put you over the edge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely it's not a fun time. I know. I don't know what it was, 10 plus years ago. And I remember sitting in on a presentation, and it was about fraud. And at the time, it seemed like the impression I got was like all of a sudden it exploded, that there was fraud everywhere. But truth be told, I mean, it's always been around, you know what I mean, in one form or another. And in our industry, unfortunately, it's an easy thing to do, right? There's, like you said, it's just a lot of it going on. I don't think that I've communicated. I wouldn't know, right? I don't know if I've communicated with someone who was trying to be someone that they weren't. But I have had to deal with that situation in the past, and it definitely is no fun. So, like when you do get that opportunity and you're able to develop relationships, I mean, that's just really important. I mean, I'm a football guy, right? And I look at other things, and so many things are similar and related. So like with football, I mean, you're trying to build a football team, right? I can relate it to what we do. Like when you're trying to build a team, I heard one person talking about building his team and his coaching staff, and he would only go to people that he knew, that he had relationships with, right? When it was that people were recommending coaches, whether it's an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator or whatever the coaches were, he worked with people that were within his network, right? So, I mean, even with what we're talking about now, as you move along in this business, you want to be able to develop a network, a network of people that, you can trust. And so
Yeah.
when it does come a time where you are venturing out into other areas of your business, maybe you have a network that you can go to that can help you in finding, those people you want to work with. But it is a challenge. I mean, the fraud thing, it's horrible. But definitely you gotta take precaution regardless.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
And we've been working very hard at the network thing here lately.
Hmm.
Everybody who works here is totally on board with that.
Hmm.
So it's helpful.
Yeah.
Big Mike in the house says you'll see more lows than highs, just the nature of the market. Yes, can happen. Sage says until the computer AI rates kick in full with broker dynamic pricing. Yeah, there's nothing we're going to do about it. You know, um, another reason to try a different approach,
Hmm.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Michael Jones in the house. Thanks for coming in. Ooh, Mechanic J. Should trucking be regulated or unregulated? Well, I mean, that's a big question. To say trucking's unregulated right now, we're regulated to the nth degree of our life. When you sleep, when you do whatever, when your bodily functions with your blood pressure and your everything, right? Physicals, hours of service. So to say we're unregulated is inaccurate. Um, and the regulations we do have, most of them don't matter. They're cathartic, they make people feel better, but they don't really do anything. The
Hmm.
regulations we need will never happen because they're hard. The government is full well aware of the real problems in the industry right now. They're problems that they don't care to address. So until that happens, I'm not in favor of any more new regulations. They're full aware of the fraud going on. Probably 90% of it is from you know people you can't regulate overseas, overseas scammers and fraudsters. Right? They could do something about that. They choose not to. So until we had some regulations that would fix some of the real problems, I'm opposed to any single new regulation. I don't care what it is.
Hmm.
Because it's
Hmm.
not going to change the thing. You don't touch the hours of service again because until you fix these other things, as far as I'm concerned, you don't do anything. Um, get us an energy policy that will make diesel reasonably affordable again. Uh,
Hmm.
it's probably not the kind of information you were looking for. I'm thinking should we go back to the 70s type regulation? I don't know about that either. There's problems both ways. So like I said, till real problems are addressed, now I'm not in favor of it.
Yeah. That with is there like because when I heard the question, it was kind of like one side, or the other. But in terms of regulation, and I heard what you mentioned, Adam. Um, is it more? Would you say the top item is um, just regulating how people enter the industry? Is that?
It would help. That would be a helpful thing. Unfortunately, we've increased, supposedly, had new regulations on that. None
Right.
of them have made a bit of difference. So
Hmm.
they pass whatever regulations they want. They don't enforce them and just look the other way while the rules get broken.
Hmm.
Um, the regulations that are really hurting us is well, one of them is all these new environmental regulations. You have the state of California constantly pushing out uh, tens of thousands of trucks a year out of the system, making it
Hmm.
incredibly difficult to do business there.
Yeah.
Um, uh, there's always a new, weight per mile tax. Um, the emission standards for trucks that force manufacturers to pretty much retool their whole operations about every 5 stinking years.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are just based on bad science or just arbitrary.
Mm-hmm.
They're always, the hours of service were good enough for 50 years, and now we got to redo them every couple of years because of one lobbyist group is suing over something, and then they make a new arbitrary number that's not based on any kind of science, that we have to follow and completely revamp operations that cost trucking companies a lot of money.
Yeah.
Um, it's one thing after another. So
Mm.
it's rarely a regulation that fixes things. It's most often a regulation that creates a whole new set of problems.
Right. I gotcha.
And that's just kind of how it's become,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
standard
Right.
practice.
Yeah. 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 It's pretty challenging. I mean, I was just looking over some stuff that I had here. Not necessarily, I guess, in regards to regulations, but just so many things that are going on. I mean, even like, we have talked about, like with the Putin invasion, and then how things have changed, and food, the food crisis that's occurred, because of that, and then fuel and all that good stuff. And there's so many things that impact our industry. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I mean, there's so many things. I mean, we might not even be thinking about it, and then there's something that happens halfway around the world, and then it impacts what we do. So and having to deal with so many changes that go on. I mean, people that are in our industry, I mean, I commend, I commend those who are carriers, that who are moving. I mean, just to get a truck and say, "Hey, I'm going to move freight." There's so much responsibility that goes with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And uh, and
Well,
I
and,
hear,
and that's another thing is that, lawsuits that are out of control.
yeah, yeah,
Um, C.H. Robinson just lost a doozy of one, a
yeah.
while back. That
Mm-hmm.
was, as far as I'm concerned, totally ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. They're trying.
Um, should not have been a part of that. And now you have the AI agenda and the green energy agenda that's just going to kill people like me.
Mm-hmm.
With essentially eventually mandating electric vehicles. It'll come to that with trucks. They'll push out the, uh, the fossil fuel engines, and where do you go from there?
Mm-hmm.
And all the incentives to further AI into the system
Mm-hmm.
uh, hurts too. So
Yeah.
it's
Do you
kind of
think
it kind of gets you from all angles.
is that like I know sometimes it can be a scenario where upon initial exposure to a thing, it's like, whoa, it's just a shock to the system. But with all this technology and AI and everything that's coming down, is it do you see how do you see, even like for you, do you see an area where you could take advantage of that at
I
this
mean,
point?
maybe, but being a small company, you only have so many resources, right?
Yeah.
And you have to keep up to all this change. So about the time you
Yeah.
adapt to the change, somebody changes the rules. So
Mm.
with this
Yeah.
AI and the electric and all that stuff,
Yeah.
it's changing so fast. But they won't allow any time for things to kind of level out and for people to adjust and adapt and prepare for the next change. It's
Mm-hmm.
so constant and ongoing and nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially, the AI, the dynamic pricing and stuff over time, when everybody's on it, it can level out. We can get used to it. Things can adjust, but they
Mm-hmm.
won't even allow time for the adjustments to be made before we're on to the next thing.
Right.
That's where it's tough,
Right. Okay.
honestly. I
I
mean,
got it.
even the companies of size, at some point, they only have so many resources.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to start creating entire departments and hiring people just dedicated to keeping up with this change,
Yeah.
um,
Right.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard for
Yes.
anybody. But there's no consideration for that. Everybody, oh, we're for small business. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Just for instance, say the state of California, after what year is it, 2035?
Hmm.
Supposedly no more gasoline or
Right,
diesel engines, right?
right, right.
Okay, well, did you have the foresight to think that we might need more power plants when your environmental regulations make it nearly impossible to build a power plant in the state of
Yeah,
California?
yeah,
Well, why should other states have to deal with, the issues that you've created? They're going to have the same issues eventually also,
yeah.
but the foresight isn't there to deal with
Hmm.
the consequences of the problems that they create.
Hmm. Yeah,
They
yeah,
can't generate enough power right now to service the amount of electric vehicles that are out there.
yeah.
So,
Well, that's kind of why we're trying to go toward, all electric even now, because of all the issues that have been created to this point. So um, I don't know. It's pretty interesting. I mean, even with the electric vehicles, I mean, they were around 100 years ago,
mhm,
even, and so now here we go. We're right back there. So uh, we'll see how it all comes out.
right, right. Michael Jones says the Chicago rail yards are grim. Super carriers are
Oh,
dropping their rates to maintain contracts. So let's talk about that. One thing we didn't really talk about is China.
okay.
Kind of a big piece of this puzzle of
Yeah.
what's going on in China. With I don't really keep too close to tabs on that because
Yeah.
nothing I can do about it.
Right.
What do you know about what's happening in China with shipping and manufacturing and shutdowns and all that stuff? You watch that a lot closer than me.
I don't know nothing. I mean, it's I don't live over there, but I will say this, that it's kind of like you just go with what you're told, right? I mean, the thing with zero COVID policy, it's kind of funny because over a year ago, they were talking about the economy and talking about here in the U.S. how the economy. I forget exactly how it went down, but they were talking about the economy, and we put something in the newsletter about that. The economy, yeah, will grow and have an opportunity to grow, but the zero COVID policy will play a part in that, right? Can impact, the growth that we do see here. And unless China will be willing to live with it, learn to live with COVID, it's going to hurt their economy. And at some point, they're going to have to come out and say, all right, we're going to do away with that because it's going to hurt their economy too much, and that's exactly what happened. So, over there's a lot of things that they're dealing with, a lot of challenges. I'm sure they'll get through it all. And there's a lot of challenges they've been dealing with for a lot of years, financially, um, and then with the real estate as well. As far as moving freight, I mean, see, like right now, think about it. And this is me. I'm just talking. I'm not really coming to the table with any proof. But here in the U.S., what have they been trying to do? They've been trying to slow down the economy, right? Cool it off.
Hmm.
And in cooling it off, that means that there is to be less of a demand by the consumer, right? So if the consumer has less of a demand, because of interest rate hikes and inflation, whatever the case is, then there's going to be less of an interest or less of a demand for goods, for items, services, even. But China is the one that that we get all our stuff from, right? So if we're going to be trying to lessen the demand by the U.S. consumer, then there's going to be less of a demand from China, right? So China's opening up. So where are they going to move all this stuff to? What are they going to produce? Who's going to want it? And I mean, locally, I think there's going to be a lot of elements of a lot of things that will happen that happened here in the U.S. when we opened up the economy. People are going to want to travel. People are going to want to do this and do that. They will do that. But I just
Maybe I can finally get that shipment of fidget spinners I've been waiting so long for. I mean, maybe some of these cheap Chinese trinkets. You go to Walmart and the shelves are empty, and you're waiting on all these parts. Maybe these parts will start to show up.
the-
Uh, But I gotta say, if nobody here has any money, how are you going to buy them?
Yeah, right. If the money is not there like it was before, and I mean, at some point, and we talked about this before, it was a matter of the haves and have not, right? So there were those that were already economically challenged, whereas there were those that had money and they could spend the money and what have you. But even those, that group is being challenged, right? So,
Hmm.
um, so yeah, it is a thing of, if the money is not there, then how's that going to look? So like we talk about, I mean, this world is so small, and so China has a dependence upon the US. There's a time we have a dependence on them. We're trying to get away from that, but right now, you've got people over there. They're not spending money. I don't think that through this time period they gave them stimulus money, like they did here. I don't think that in their fiscal policy, I don't think that they allowed for to provide them with the money like they did here, during the lockdown. So with that, I think people are more so trying to save money and make sure they have a way to be ready for retirement whenever they think they can retire. Um, I think their population, I believe I've heard their population is aging, right? Um, that's going to be an issue. That's going to be a challenge for them. I think I heard that, like, in order for them to continue to grow, they need to have like a growth rate of 2.1 kids per family, right? And I think
Hmm.
they're at a level of 1.2. So with that said, you're looking at negative growth, possibility of negative growth happening there. So what is that going to look like in the future? I don't know. But the thing is that right now for us, it seems like we're kind of in the driver's seat, where America's doing its thing, and China here is trying to open up, and where are they going to be able to go? And plus, with them opening up, you're looking at fuel or energy. I mean, they're going to need um, more resources, to come their way, and that may take it away from other countries. And who knows what that's going to look like? I mean, there's so many questions, to come up. So it's going to be interesting this year. I mean, they're looking for, I think, a 5% growth this year, I think, in their economy. But that kind of went up, went down, and came back up. But we'll see. But it's just going to be an interesting time. They took away that zero COVID policy because their economy just was being challenged. You know,
Hmm.
so, so I don't know. We'll see. It'll be
Do we
interesting.
do we have new wars over resources because there's suddenly a twofold demand increase for resources?
Mm-hmm.
One thing for sure, we'll have more unintended consequences, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
More and
Yep.
more of a battle over less and less resources.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's true.
Couple more questions, and I kind of want to shift the conversation to something
Yeah.
else here. We'll go. Jay Rohn says, question on authority and brokerage. I'm leased to a company right now, but looking into going on my own. Should I get my authority and brokerage or let it sit to get age for insurance and newness to war off? Well, it's very inexpensive to let a brokerage sit to age. It's going to cost you some money to let your authority age if you want to keep that. You have to keep that liability insurance active. You can do this while you're still leased on to the other carrier. You just don't mix the two. That the carriers in charge right now. You can stay under their permits, but um, it could be an expensive proposition to let authority age. So yeah, I mean, you may be as much as $100 a month if you're a new authority to make that happen. So it's just up to you if that dollar amount is too much. Um, it's really the only answer I can give you here. Um, so and about the economy, right? If
Yeah.
you're, change the definition of a recession to keep us out of one, right? And then, um, you know, who knows about
You have
these
a problem
inflation
with that,
numbers?
don't you?
I do have a problem with that. Like if you don't like the outcome, change the rules type thing. I have a big problem with that. So we've honestly been in a recession for a while now, and now they're just finally starting to admit it. But then a lot of people I hear saying, "Well, we're we're starting to turn around and come out of it, or we expect to come out of it in second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, leading edge of a recession is usually a lot of layoffs. Well, we're just now starting to see these layoffs happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And especially in the freight world, you've got a lot of big brokerages laying off here.
Yeah.
Robinson already had. I see now Uber did, and some others.
Yeah.
There's a few, more consolidations in the trucking industry.
Mm-hmm.
These brokerages don't lay off if they see this thing is going to be, a month, 4 weeks, 6 weeks of downturn, and then they're expecting things to turn out. They're not going to do mass layoffs. They're just going to kind of
Mm-hmm.
wait it out.
Mm-hmm.
The fact to me that they're laying off so many people leads me to believe that they believe this is going to be a protracted downturn.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and your other big companies, up by me, 3M just laid off 2,500 people last week. We
Mm-hmm.
got all these other layoffs going on. So we're just now starting to see the layoffs that you would see early on in a recession. So
Mm-hmm.
for me to believe that this is going to turn around second quarter or anytime soon
Right.
seems a little far fetched to me.
Right.
I'm thinking we bottom out somewhere and we just kind of scrape bottom for a while. Not much of a rebound
Yeah.
for a while. Where are your thoughts on like the freight and the economy and stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you touched on a lot there. I mean, and here, I guess here's where the way I look at it. One of the things that you always say is that we when we talk about the trucking industry, and that we knew things would turn right at some point. Well, I think that this is a part of it. One, just naturally that things would turn where there wouldn't be as much opportunity there for businesses, period. But then at the same time, there are a lot of businesses out there that did hire. I mean, we're at 3.5 unemployment, which
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that either. Sorry.
well, okay. Well, I'm gonna go with it.
Okay.
But,
All right.
So let's say that we're at the 3.5 low, and I mean that's what 40-50 year low, I think is what they say. And so as far as that goes, that means that we've had a lot of people. Again, the source is COVID. I believe that a lot of people have been removed from the labor market, whether it's that they stay at home to take care of others, or they can't go back to work, or, whatever the case is. There can be many reasons. Took early retirement. So we have a low unemployment. So we have, in terms of layoffs, there were companies, I think, that probably hired and kept people. I wouldn't say just in case, that probably the anticipation. It's kind of like this, with the inventory, and where these companies, they just bulked up on inventory, right? Because they're like, I don't want to get into that situation again, and I want to make sure I'm ready for the next holiday season, and we have plenty of inventory. Then all of a sudden they realized they had too much inventory, right? Same way with labor. Hey, I'm going to bulk up on labor, and now I've got too much, right?
Yeah.
You see, so I prepared for a different environment, right? And
Dang you for being reasonable.
Huh?
Dang you for being reasonable.
What do you mean?
Because you're right. You're right.
Okay.
So during the boom, they hire all these people, and then when things start to normalize, realize I don't need all these people.
Yeah, I think so.
Very, very much a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had not thought of that.
And it's the same way with our industry. Like there were a lot of people that got into got their authority, right? And so, and then when things changed, there was just too much capacity, and so I think that, when we look at the different parts of the economy, it's all pretty relative. And you look at it around the world, things are pretty much the same in terms of how things work. And so I want to make sure I've got the labor. I want to make sure, because it's hard to find them. And then all of a sudden I've got to let them go. And some industries are going to let people go, more than others. And one of them is tech. And then when we talk about trucking, I think that there's an aspect of it that has become tech, right? Wouldn't you agree? I mean, when we say,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
So then, and then, when we're talking tech as well, I mean, part of that is advertisement, where maybe they don't have as much advertisement, or and then they don't have a need for as many people, and because companies aren't spending money in that way. And then we also have interest rates that have gone up, right? And so you find companies aren't investing money like they were before. So there's all these different things that are happening that will tie into, all right, we need to let people go because we need to shore up our books and get through this time period. Nobody wants to do that, I don't believe. But at the same time, I think businesses, they're going to do what they have to do, right? They're going to shut off your email, right? They're going to give you a day's notice or whatever it is, or a minute's notice, and they will unfortunately let you go. But that is not something that is new. It happened to me back in the day,
Right.
So yeah, so that's how I see it.
Okay. You mentioned something I want to talk about there about technology and trucking, and you
Mm-hmm.
say it's a kind of getting a foothold. Technology is running a rough shot over trucking right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone too far, and I'll explain to you why. So
Mm-hmm.
AI, you know, uh, there's every day I turn on my computer, I got a new email from a broker saying we're introducing this new technology and that new technology, capacity technology,
Yeah.
traction, this and that.
Yeah.
So it's going too far, and it's the technology has gotten way farther down the road than what we're ready for. And what I mean by that is, uh, people are instituting these technologies and then just completely abandoning, um, like support,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
service, things like
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
So let's pick on Uber because I love to pick on Uber Freight because they
Okay.
suck. That's my official stance on Uber Freight. They suck. Um, they're they're one of the farthest down the road with this technology stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and the support has gotten so bad. They will just abandon you on a load if you have a problem. You won't hear back for days.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
Yeah.
convoy to me, convoy is no better. You can just put them in the same boat.
Yeah.
Uh, God help you if you have a problem on one of their loads
Yeah.
because you're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's going to come back to bite them sooner or later because the customer is going to suffer.
Right.
Uh, they don't get their freight. They got freight sitting on a truck. Perhaps it's perishable. Uh, Arrangements have to be made to do something like this. This can drag out. The longer something drags out, the more expensive it is.
Mm-hmm.
Loads are just going to be lost track of.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to anger truck drivers so much they're going to do irrational things with your freight. You may not get it back.
Yeah.
You may find it in a dumpster somewhere.
Right. Ooh.
Because at a certain point, they don't. I
Yeah.
wouldn't care. You abandoned me for 5 days with this load on my trailer.
Yeah.
Hey, what am I supposed to do, right?
Right.
Eventually, this comes back full circle and it's going to hurt the shipper or receiver.
Yeah.
So the technology has gotten the capabilities have surpassed what we're ready for,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they need to step back a little bit and just say, is this good for everybody involved?
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, it is. It's good for them. It's good for the shipper, receiver. It cuts costs.
Right.
It streamlines. But have they addressed all the issues they need to address? And I say absolutely not.
Right.
They've gone farther down the road than what we're ready for. They need to just
Right.
pull back a little bit and say, hey, and that's where people like me, where it presents opportunity for people like me and some of us, where we can still provide that level of service and communication that Uber Freight is just not
Mm-hmm.
going to do.
Yeah.
They're that's 20 years in the past for them, right? Looking
Right.
on a time horizon.
Right.
And eventually, if this happens enough, the big shippers and receivers will get tired of it, and they will seek another solution.
Mm.
So that's my opinion on technology and trucking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think and here's the thing, like Uber's been around for a while, so they were around before the pandemic, and I keep referencing the pandemic because of the environment that it created.
Change things forever.
Yeah, I mean, it changed things, and in regards to technology or anything that is kind of like experimental, right? It gave an opportunity, that opportunity to experiment. And what I mean by that is that there was so much money that was made, right, during that time period that, I'm not gonna say you throw away money, but let's say for a big company could do things that it maybe didn't have an opportunity to do before, or maybe had an opportunity to do something that was on the shelf, you know, and take it off the shelf and try to work it and develop it and all that good stuff. So it was like an opportunity to explore. And so with this technology, and you know that there was so much technology that just came out during that time period, right? If you just thought of it, you know, okay, let me figure it out and throw it out there, because people had a need as well. There was money there and people had a need. So people were willing to try things, you know, they were willing to try your technology or your technology. If you're going to get me a truck, right, I will try your technology, even if it's to during the bid season. Let me try that technology, that new technology that you have, to put my bids out there and what have you. So during that time period, although I'm sure you're probably talking about before that even, there was an opportunity to just throw money out there and just try stuff, and probably recklessly, right? Not when you do something, right, and you try something, there's always the service side that suffers, right? You know, because that takes people. You've got to hire people. And plus, there wasn't a lot of people out there to hire, but that takes people to take care of what's to come, right? To service. And so there was probably definitely a lack on that. But as far as, you know, service suffering, unfortunately, that comes with it. And I think that it becomes, I'm not going to say the last thing that gets taken care of, but it doesn't happen on the timeline I think it should, like you're mentioning.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and somebody marked this down that I said this in case we got to revisit it 10 years
Hmm.
from now.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong, this could take 10 years, this could take longer, this could happen. It happens whenever it happens. But
Yeah.
they are removing the human element from every part of trucking.
Yeah. Right.
How long
Right.
before they remove the human? They're preparing a system for autonomy. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Nobody here
Hmm.
is going to like it. But
Hmm.
to deny it exists and what they're doing would be foolish. You know, we
Yeah.
have to prepare for it. They're removing the human element from everything,
Hmm.
so that eventually, um, you know, obviously there will always need to be a human aspect of it somewhere. You know,
Hmm. Right.
preparing equipment and working on it, whatever, or for now at least.
Yeah.
But the system is being prepared to remove the human element from our aspect of the job.
Hmm.
In
Yeah.
in time, what's the timeline? Hey, it's probably gonna be a while, but
Yeah.
they're making a, you know, a massive effort at doing this.
I
So
definitely, no, you're right. And I think that I think definitely definitely if there's something out there that can reduce errors, you know what I mean? Some of some kind, I think that can be good. But you remember a gentleman named Elon Musk? I think when he started with Tesla, wasn't it wasn't it to he was planning to put together um, a plant that eliminated the human element. Am I correct? Is that
it
right?
could be. I'm not familiar with this.
Okay. I have to go back and check, but I think that that was the case, and he was going to produce all these cars, right? And then come to find out that wasn't the best idea. So he had to put the human back into it, and but then obviously with the car itself, it's supposed to be autonomous, right? So and it's supposed to take away that human element and reduce accidents and things like that. So my point is that with technology, man, I love technology, and there's just some good stuff that it can do, right? But like you said, with all this stuff that's going on and in transportation, um, there is no way that you're going to eliminate obviously the human experience completely. There's just no way that that can happen.
Right.
But are there areas where it would make sense to do that. Not trying to get rid of the, I mean, there can be one of the things that I didn't like, and this as a broker was it's just some of that, that redundant stuff. You know what I mean? Especially with that paperwork, and I don't know if there's a way to do that, using technology, but that was just fascinating to me, actually, how much paperwork was involved. And it's like, man, is there a way to eliminate that? I think they even have a thing now where a college paper can be written, right? I think that the college work can be done using this AI technology or this chat technology. There's where, and I think they're even making it better to the point where it can be like at a master's level, it can write a paper.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so.
We spend so much time thinking about the concept of if we can. We rarely stop to think about if we should.
Mm, mm.
And see, here's the difference between Elon Musk and the United States government. So Elon Musk intended to create an auto plan. I'm just taking your story of what you said. That was largely of little human contact, and tried it for a while and was smart enough to realize, hey, this doesn't work. I'm going to have to bring some humans back into it.
Yeah.
The government approach to that is we want to create an industry full of autonomous vehicles where we have to have very few human error and drivers on the road. They will be proven to them that it doesn't work, and we're not ready for it. But the government will not reinstitute humans into the vehicles. They will just through force and coercion cause it to continue to happen, and try to force the issue. Grant immunity to certain groups from lawsuits, and just pretend like we're the government. We can make this work. So it's an illustration of industry or difference between private industry and government. I think even Elon Musk has even indicated that the greatest threat to us is AI.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. And that was when Mark Zuckerberg came out. I mean, he's got the metaverse and what have you. But when he was really pushing initially the AI, he came back, snapped back at him, and countered that. So yeah, absolutely.
But thank you, Trucker's assistant coach, for $10 super chat. Says this is great. Well, thank you. We're just having all kinds of different discussions. So let me steer this a different direction here, because this is like weighing on me. We've talked about a lot of negativity here. So I'm going to ask you to put on your coach's hat for a second. Put on your I want you to be my life coach here for about 20 minutes. So
you need a private session here?
Well, yes, public, private. So we just talked about all kinds of things. In the beginning, we talk about some different opportunities, but then we sit here and talk about a lot of maybe negativity and why things don't work. And a person can easily come to the conclusion of saying, why should I even try? What's it all for? Screw it. I'm just going to not do this. How does a person keep from just getting mentally beat up by everything every day, right?
Yeah.
To stay focused on the end goal, the opportunity, the strategy and then to kind of tune out the noise of everybody telling them you're stupid for doing this. This is why it won't work.
Yeah.
This is what you should do, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. I just caught myself during this live interview going down that path, and that's why I'm bringing it back to this.
Yeah.
Because you gotta catch yourself and eye on the prize, right? How do you handle that? Because I'm sure you experience a little bit of that.
Oh yeah. True. Yeah, well, I mean, I think one of the things is which can be hard, because it took me a while to get to this point of realizing that this is the human experience, right? I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're Elon Musk, truly it doesn't. It doesn't matter who you are. You're going to go through an experience where it's challenging, right? And where you're going to want to give up. And that is just a part of the human experience that we have. And what I mean by that is that, there's also another human experience of knowing that it can be done, right? And knowing that you can do it. And sometimes it definitely takes uh, knowing someone, right? Knowing the right people, surrounding yourself around the right people. And it can be hard sometimes because a lot of times we want to hear what we want to hear, and sometimes it's easy to be around those that are saying the same things that we're thinking, right? But in terms of growth, right? In order to grow, you got to put yourself in a box not even a box. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say box, but put yourself around people that do make you feel uncomfortable. And I don't mean in a bad way. I'm talking about in a good way. There's a lot of good stuff out there, whether it is, there's a podcast or two that I listen to that's really good. And it's only because I found it many years ago, well over 10 years ago. And it's all about entrepreneurs, right? More so in the tech industry. But what I found out is that regardless of whether you're in the tech industry or you're in the trucking industry, it's so similar in terms of what you go through, in terms of trying to build something, right? When you're trying to build something, it can be a lonely place. And the reason being is that everyone around you, they don't want what you want. That doesn't mean they're against you. It just means that they have other interests, right? And so when you do get around people that have the same interests, you still have to sort through that, and find those that, are, encouraging, or those that have done it. I mean, mentorship is amazing, whether, you've been around for 50 years or whether you've been around for, 20 years, mentorship is amazing, because again, we all go through those challenges, the voices that play in our head, right? A situation occurs, right? Let's say, I've got a driver and for whatever reason, things didn't go the way they should have gone, right? Maybe they didn't go the way I would have done it, right? And then, and unfortunately, then you're in a situation and it can be very, very challenging. But even in those challenging moments, there's an opportunity to learn, right? I mean, when we have challenges or failures and things like that, there's always an opportunity to learn through those situations, and so for us, I mean, the things that we talk about, and even like with the training course and stuff like that, I mean, it's based upon a lot of experience, right? And the key thing is that if somebody created C.H. Robinson, right? I mean, this might be a different time period, but if somebody created a company, a tech company, or whatever it is, all that tells me is that it can be done. That's right. All it tells me, and that's all I know.
Somebody else might be creating the next C.H. Robinson.
Somebody right now creating the next C.H. Robinson, but even this, Adam, they're creating the next ABC company. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just that, okay, there's a company out there named C.H. Robinson, right? But I'm about to create my company, right? And my company, it might not be C.H. Robinson, right? But it's my company, and I'm going to make it happen, because C.H. Robinson, I don't know if C.H. Robinson knew of any other company, right, and said, I'm going to create the next XYZ company, if that's what existed at the time, but they saw an opportunity and they believed in it and they went after it regardless of anything. So I think for me, it's a matter of leaning on, those type of experiences, and just knowing that, it can be done, but it takes work. There's no question about it. You know what I mean? It takes work, and that it takes work.
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of work. But
it takes work.
Hey, it can be worth it. If people are trying to constantly give you reasons, tell you can't, you shouldn't, why it won't work, find a new group of people.
Yes.
We talk a lot about that. Whether you like it or not, or believe it or not, you will become the people you hang out with, or spend most of your time with, or even spending time watching. Right? There's plenty of social media is a lot of noise, right? But you'll still become that. Whatever you put your time into, that's what you'll become.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not just a motivational speech. That's really reality.
It is.
So,
Yes.
well, you have a
Can I
football
add
game
something to
to
that
attend,
real
don't you?
quick?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, I just want to add one thing to it. So me, for whatever it's worth, I like Dateline, right? I don't know if you're familiar with that show, but I was watching a lot of that, and then I had to stop because everywhere I looked, it was a Dateline scene.
Uh-huh.
I could go to the convenience store, and I'm like, I'm
Where's the yellow tape?
yeah, exactly. And I'm just assessing everything, and it's like, wait a minute, this is not good, right? So when you say, you are, those that you surround yourself with, and what you watch, what you feed into you it's so important. I mean, it's like food, right? So you have to watch what it is that you consume.
Mhm.
Uh, and there's a lot of good stuff to consume, and that will make a difference. It may not feel comfortable in the beginning, right? And it may not be natural to you, but when you do it, and the more you do it, you will see a difference,
Mhm.
and it makes a difference. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like myself versus Paul. It's if you spend your life putting bad stuff into your body, Twinkies and whatnot, you're going to look like me. If you spend your time putting good stuff into your brain and eating broccoli, you're going to look like Paul.
I Okay.
You're going to be healthy in the
Eat
picture of
broccoli.
fitness.
Okay, we'll go with
You
that.
feed your brain like you feed your body, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Or better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
100%.
Well, I know you have an important football engagement here at 2 o'clock, so
I
I'm
do.
gonna wish you the best of luck. Oh, thank you with both feet. It says channel partners like Paul have provided the knowledge that's largely responsible for my business growing and sustaining. Thank you. Channel memberships available. Well, thank you. Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
Paul,
absolutely.
Paul, you're important to this crowd. I hope that comes through to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, and everybody, if you need some to talk about these things, maybe some more opportunities for yourself or what have you, go to fr8connect.com. Talk to Paul, email him, or 866-342-0040 extension 109. Just to understand, there's a lot of people call, so you'll get returned call when possible.
Yeah.
So we will we'll leave it at that for today. And I really appreciate this. Is
Yeah.
we said we were going to do this once a month, but we've missed some occasions. You were sick, I was sick. You had a run in with a desk that put you out of commission for a while, and
Yeah.
some scheduling. I had to be on the road for some weekends there that it didn't jive, but I really appreciate today.
Yeah, man. I
Um,
appreciate you, man.
and let's do it, Mr. Nobody. Thank you for the super chat. Says thank you for your time. Yeah, we'll try to do this more often and keep back in touch. I know you're
Absolutely.
busy,
As
and
always.
thank you, sir. And we hang in there. We'll wrap this up. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you. Go Chiefs.